What is up, guys? Welcome. This is Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to take their brands to the next level. I'm your host, Junior Frederick, and I have with me the man himself, Mr. Bobby Stealth. And today, we're going to get into some interesting conversation. If you tuned in live, go ahead and put your flames in the comments. And also, let us know where you're listening in from. Bobby, what's up?
Junior, guys, life on the road is not always what it's cracked up to be. I'm doing absolutely phenomenal though. It's just getting used to transitioning time zones, getting used to being like everywhere and nowhere at the same time. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's like you're once in the air, then you're on the ground. Once you're in one time zone, then you're in another time zone. But no matter where you are, you've got to execute. So I'm feeling like I'm like out of this world. It doesn't even feel like I'm on in the world right now, but I am obviously. So that's how I'm feeling. It's very, very strange. It's like, is this real? And it is. It really is, but it takes some getting used to.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, I see. Quick shout out goes out to Tia, to Bradley, to Dr. Michelle. All right, so phenomenal. So everybody's saying winning Wednesday. So Bradley says phenomenal winning Wednesday. All from Detroit. Um, Dr. Michelle says wonderful winning Wednesday from Detroit. Oh, from Bradley's from Texas, not Detroit. And then of course Dr. Michelle is from Detroit. Okay. So guys, we're gonna go to a quick break. Just bear with us. And when we come back, we're gonna get into the conversation. So stay tuned. If you have any questions, make sure to write them down. We'll be addressing them directly once we come back. Stay tuned.
There's slow growth and then there's scale. There's incremental growth and then there's exponential growth. What I want to talk to you about is adding a zero to you and experiencing exponential scale. Incremental growth says 1 plus 1 is 2. Exponential growth says 1 plus 0 is 10. Incremental growth says 2 plus 2 is 4. Exponential growth says 5 plus 0 is 50. Guys, listen, when you add a zero to you, you can add a zero to the marketplace. You can add a zero to the value that you bring. So you can add a zero to your family, add a zero to your legacy. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about incremental, we're talking about exponential. I always say that business is a spiritual game. Just imagine when you combine your skills, your values, your abilities, your talents to something bigger than you, something greater than you, something like the power of exponential. That is adding a zero. Add a zero to your competence, add a zero to your confidence. This is about adding a zero in your life, your value, your industry, and your mission. Let's grow. It's very important that you know yourself to the highest degree possible, because it's through knowing ourselves that we're able to know other people. You are the most important person in the room, and the better that you know yourself, the better that you're able to communicate to others. So you're not only playing the game knowing who you are, but you're also playing the game knowing who everyone else is, so that you're not playing blind.
He's extremely engaging with people. He has a fantastic smile. He's just a very high energy person.
This is called leadership development. So we have to be independently knowledgeable and considerate to know who we are, so we can more effectively know who other people are. As the leader, it's your responsibility to allocate resources in the right places. If you don't know how to communicate effectively, you're losing the battle.
All right, guys. So welcome back. This is Breakfast with the Brand. Let's get into some interesting conversation. Bobby, just tell us a little bit more, man. What's going on? I noticed a different background. That's a really nice painting behind you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, different background, different day, different city, different state. Super crazy. But what's been going on is money follows movement. Money follows movement. And sometimes we can get caught in our own little bubble. You know, so in our bubble, that could be your city, that could be your state, and you got to get outside of that. And when you get outside of that, you start seeing different things. And when you start seeing different things and you start opening your mind up to new realities, you're like, whoa, okay, that's possible. Okay, I can do this or I can do that. So for me, recently, I just got back from Phoenix and now I'm in a different location. Um, and I won't be back to my home base until like Friday or something. And what I've been realizing is that everything you've been doing up until now, like all the struggles, all the pain, all of the late nights, all of the grind, like it's preparing you for right now. And what I mean by right now is like my right now. Right now, guys, I am stressed in a good way. I am under pressure in a good way. I am losing my mind in a good way. But I'm also only able to sustain and execute at this level because of all the things I went through. So this is just a encouraging statement. Like, I know it's tough right now. Whatever you're doing, if you're learning a skill that you don't like, maybe you're not a marketer, or maybe you're trying to figure out how to come up with a product and it's like you just want to help people, but you can't figure out how to get that product piece right. Like, don't stop, don't quit. Maybe it's selling for you. Like you feel sleazy, you feel some type of way anytime you have to ask for money because you don't like it. Push through it, because it's those tough things that you're doing now that are going to put you in the position that I am now. And I'm not necessarily where I want to be by any means. I've just gotten to a point where it's like, man, I didn't think I was ever going to get here. I knew I was going to get here, but it just took forever. And now that I'm here, I'm like, all right, now let's get to the next level. So that's what it's really been like, Junior. It's really been a process of personal and professional development that you guys are seeing. You saw me go from the military. You saw me having the background that had no ambiance whatsoever to the background that had the flag and the things, to hotel backgrounds, to jet lagged execution. And it didn't take very long for you guys to see that entire evolution. And that's because the stuff that we do here is so exponential. So excellent question.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for sharing, man. For today, I'm thinking about getting into a little bit of marketing, maybe a little bit of branding as well, maybe a little bit of sales and networking. I know that's sort of the space where you're in right now. So let me leave it open to the audience, guys. So put it in the chat. Where would you like to go with this conversation today? Because we could go in so many different, you know, different directions that I have to ask. Now I'm gonna kick off with a question. But then as I'm talking to Bobby, I want you guys to put it in the chat. What is your most pressing need? Is it marketing? Is it branding? Is it sales? Is it networking? What would that be for you? So Bobby, let's talk about networking since that's sort of what you're doing right now. What would you say are the key things that you've noticed, like going from, I guess, the virtual to the in person? What is the difference? What difference have you noticed?
First and foremost, it's exhausting. It's exhausting, but it's worth it. It's worth it. So worth it. So why is it exhausting? Imagine being at a club, right? You're in the club and you tell yourself, you and your guys, you're like, hey guys, we're going to get 25 numbers tonight. And whoever doesn't get 25 numbers, like whoever has the least amount of numbers, has to cover the hotel and drinks. So that's like a young man's analogy, but that's like a big price for somebody to pay. You can just go out there and get numbers, right? So now you go out there, you just bouncing through the crowd, you're doing your thing. So imagine like dancing is you using your skill set to connect. So if you're at a club and you see someone and they're dancing and they're doing their thing and they look attractive, that means that in the networking space, they are professionally positioned, they look good, and they are speaking eloquently about what they do. So in order for you to dance with them, you got to be looking good, speak eloquently, and describe what you do. So you're pretty much bouncing through this crowd of hundreds of people and you're just speaking, and it's super loud. So it's really loud. You're dressed, you're sweating like crazy. You're sweating like crazy because you've got on like a three-piece suit, you've got on some nice shoes, and you're just, and you've got your phone out, and sometimes you got two phones, and you're like, so the difference is when you're networking in person, you've got to be so much more conscious of mind, body, and spirit. That's why we teach it in the I want to say week 4 or week 5. Either week 4 or week 5 is mind, body, and spirit and branded like a leader. And what I remember from being in the networking environment is you had to be branded. Everybody in that environment that was there to close deals was branded 100%. The other thing that you had to notice was that you didn't eat. A lot of people didn't eat. We ate one time. One time. And the one time that they ate, not everybody ate. Why is that? Because everybody knew that you had to have the food that they brought out. The food that they brought out was very small portions. Why? Because the people that were eating that food never eat to get full. They just eat for energy. So the environment itself and real networking, when you're like networking online, you're sending messages, you know how it is. You'll copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, change the name. Or we're so slick with it, we'll have it automated. We'll just say, hey, send this to all different people, and use some type of AI. But when you're in the room, you can't fake you. When you're in the room, energy is real. Like you have to be able to push it for 8 hours talking. Like there's a reason my voice sounds like this. It's 72 hours of just constant talking, listening. And the interesting thing about it though is when you talk to educated, wealthy, and aspiring people for hours on end, you become so inspired. It's not motivation. No. Like it's different than motivation. It's you're touching, connecting, shaking hands, locking eyes, and you're talking about the dreams and aspirations of your family, your country, and your legacy. And you're doing that over and over and over and over and over again. And I had to have talked to at least 100 people, just shy of 100, and all of them had a version of that story. Sometimes at home, we're talking to everybody that has a version of the story that we don't want to hear. They have a version of why they can't pay for something. They have a version of why they didn't take action. They have a version of why life is so hard for them and so much easier for you. But none of the people in this room have that. They all have a solution oriented mindset that says, what I have is not enough, but where I'm going is so worth it. And whatever it costs me in time, energy, and money, I'm willing to pay for it because there's nothing better in life than being the best version of you. And that version doesn't need money. That version doesn't need sleep. That version doesn't need time. That version needs a mission that you can throw yourself fully into, that brings pride and honor to your family and to yourself. And when you're shaking hands with those people all day long and y'all are sharing that, it's not motivation. It's straight inspiration. Absolute inspiration. It's a powerful experience.
100%. So we have a question on the networking side. By the way, guys, you can keep the questions coming. So Dr. Michelle says, I meet a lot of people. Can you touch on following up and keeping people in play to either get referrals or convert to sales?
Absolutely. So when you meet people, oftentimes we don't know how to make friends anymore. We don't know how to make friends anymore. So here's something that I learned to do while I was out there. I learned to take pictures with people one-on-one, just me and them. So if you just so happen to get into a networking event and you're meeting a lot of people, don't take group pictures only. We're good at that. Like sometimes we'll all like, hey, let's get a picture. No, don't just do that. Another thing that you want to do is you want to say, hey, can you take a picture of us? And then when you get that picture taken of you two, send that picture to them and say, hey, it was an absolute pleasure meeting you. My name is Michelle D. Clark. And could you remind me of what you do so I can save it next to your number in my phone? So now once you get the number saved and you have the picture, you can say, phenomenal, not gonna forget this. And then go into your phone. Most people have this schedule a text. Schedule a text that says, before you even leave, like you took the picture, you sent them the message, you said, hey, I'm trying to save this in your phone. Boom, boom, boom. You did all of that. Now you said, thank you. You've parted ways. Right there at that very moment, schedule a text for 3 days out and then say, hey, it was great connecting with you. And then once they respond to that text, keep it going until you set the appointment. But it's easy to forget if you don't, one, send them a message right after the engagement, and two, if they don't remember your face. So one, you take the picture with them, send the picture to them. So when the text that goes out automated or automatically hits and says, hey, this is Michelle, we were at the networking event, how are you? They'll see your picture and their picture. Make sure you're smiling or they're smiling, because when they see your message 3 days later, they're going to go back to the message and see the picture. And you want them to be reminded of the joy and fun they had with you, increasing the likelihood of them actually answering your message. And if they do, set the appointment. What I do is I set the appointment out the gate. I set the appointment before we take the picture. like, hey, are you available? let's do it. But that's the answer to that question.
Bobby, just curious. Out of those appointments, are you getting those appointments to stick? Are they sticky or are they? Because it's very easy to forget. Like if I go to an event and I meet, let's say, 100 people, it can be very easy to forget. And the picture is phenomenal, but I'm just wondering, like, what percentage of those people, on just an average, if you know, is actually sticking or showing up right
So
now?
so far, I'll have one of my first meetings from my Phoenix event today. Some of them reschedule, but very few of them ghost. It's been a 0% ghost rate. So what that means is when you set an appointment and then you call somebody and you can't even get a hold of them, like they just not talking to you. And then so that's that. So I'll have a better number for this most recent event for you guys very soon. But from appointments that's already been in our CRM, people that met Shaan at an event were far more likely to answer or at least not ghost us than people that came in from ad traffic. But I would say as of right now, I've had a 0% ghost rate, meaning that people just don't show up to the call or don't hit me back. And then some people have had to reschedule. And I think this is because I was very aggressive in a good way. Like I was setting appointments for the day after we got back. And a lot of people are still traveling. I set appointments the day before July 4th. And July 4th is tomorrow. And a lot of people are on travel and vacation. So it's an interesting time. You asked a great question, but right, I was aggressively set the appointment anyway, even though I knew it was holiday and I knew everybody was traveling. I'm still traveling and I still set the appointment.
Nice, nice. All right, guys, we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, more on this topic. Please stay tuned. By the way, if you have any questions, write them down. As soon as we come back, we'll be taking your questions. Let's go.
When I think of brand you, I think of being your best self, your most authentic. The reason why we were able to crush business, absolutely dominate in business without having the marketing list, without having the email huge list, without having the Facebook ads and the advertising budget, without knowing the algorithm. The reason we were able to do this is because I branded myself. I told my authentic story and I was comfortable in my skin. Why? Because it was that time in the world where everything was shifting. It was 2020, March. So you remember what happened during that time. It was like the world was coming to an end. So you didn't have anything to hold back. So I chose to give everything that I had and be everything that I am. And because I was that, because I branded me, because I was authentic, everything shifted. And people wanted more. And they wanted to know more about me and how they could become more comfortable in their skin. Listen, guys, when you brand you and not what you do, you're going to add a zero to the world. But you'll also add a zero to your revenue. Let's grow. In brand clarity, exactly what you're going to get is what it sounds like. Clarity for your brand. What is your color? What is your logo? What is your unique value proposition? Who are you speaking to? Why? How should you speak to them? How should I position myself? That's what you're going to learn in brand clarity. You need other people to have the same clarity on your brand that you do. But this is the gap. If you don't have clarity on your brand, then no one else is going to have clarity on your brand either. It's like messaging. Your message sounds clear to you, but is your end user receiving the value that you're trying to provide? I guarantee you that after you go through brand clarity, they will, and so will you. And that's how you'll scale your brand.
All right, guys. So we're back. Bobby, we have a follow-up question. So I'll take it. All right. So Dr. Michelle says, had the individual pick part need more consistency with sending text? So let me read that again. Had the individual pick part need more consistency with sending text? Can you touch on the conversion part? So
Okay.
do you understand that question, Bobby?
Yes, I do. So she's pretty much saying, awesome, this is good stuff. I'm taking pictures with the people. I got that part. I need to be more consistent with sending that follow-up text. Could you please give me more information on the conversion aspect of this? So definitely got that. Great question. The conversion part, when it comes to networking, has to do with your ability to identify the right problem that's causing them the most pain. So what I noticed in networking events, like big events like I went to where you got to pay to get out there, you got hotel rooms and all that stuff, like those people they got money, right? They have money because they're in the room, okay? And when you have money, you have what? Biggie said it best. The more money you have, the more problems you have. More money, more problems. And here's the thing that most people struggle with when it's time to convert a network appointment. They don't know how to see the biggest problem that is causing the prospect the most pain. They know the prospect has a problem because the prospect's in the room to learn more information, to get connected to the next person. But if you're not able to perceive the problem effectively, then it's going to be very difficult to identify the urgency or the pain threshold of the problem that they have while being congenial. Okay. So when you're being congenial, that just means being nice. It means being friendly. It means smiling and waving. So when you're networking, they don't know you, but the energy is known. So I'm going to go a little bit deep on this, but I'm not going to go too deep. So when you're in a networking event and everybody paid to be there, the mindset, the frequency has already been done for you. So remember that. If you're in a room with someone and you all are in the room together, you all got there because of the marketing that was being messaged. So if the marketing that was being messaged is the message that got you in the room, that you guys already have the same mindset. So you don't have to try to figure out why they're there. You know that. What you have to figure out is what aspect of why they're there can you solve? So let's say someone goes to a networking event that's talking about building $1 million business. You know that everybody there is there to build $1 million business. Now, if you're going to make a conversion, that means you need to solve a problem for that person that's on their way to their first $1 million. So you know that. So now what you need to understand is, how am I going to ask this question? So here's an example. This again is conversions, converting at a networking event. So let's say you go to the networking event and you're talking to them and they say, and then you're like, hey, what brought you out here? Obviously looking to make that first million, right? And they're like, yeah, I'm looking to make that first million. What about you? And you're like, same boat. What industry are you in? Like, what do you specialize in? And then they say, I'm in solar sales, right? And then you can say, Michelle, all right, that's absolutely phenomenal. And let's say this is a female, all right? She says she's in solar sales. You can say, that's absolutely phenomenal. I'm an executive coach in the life coaching space for high performers that have recovered from traumatic experiences, specifically breast cancer. Have you ever had anything that you've had to overcome while building this $1 million business? And guess what they're going to say? Yes. Because everybody has their cancer to overcome. Everybody has their 5 kids. Everybody has their storm in St. Lucia that can't stop the growth. You can't stop the train. So when they say, yes, I have had to overcome something, you say, wow, is there something you're overcoming right now? If you don't mind me asking. I mean, when I came out here, it was crazy. I had just done this event, just did that event, and getting out here, I was like, how am I going to make this happen? That the vulnerability gives them permission to be vulnerable. So you want to lead with vulnerability so that they'll be vulnerable with you. And then once they open up about whatever that situation is, you can go in and take that angle. Now, obviously, I would recommend you go to cancer events if you want to, cancer recovery events, if you only want to focus on cancer recovery patients. But if you want to do something like resiliency, because I could definitely see you being a successful coach in the resiliency space, but focusing primarily on recovery cancer patients, but going through the mental ups and downs of having cancer, going through the surgical aspects, going through the high performance aspects, the divorce aspects, the raising the kids aspects. You have a lot of experience in the resiliency space. So if you can identify the right pain point and show how your experience is directly connected to where they are and how they can get to the other side, then you found pain and you found urgency, and now you just have to convey value. Once you convey the value that you have, you set the appointment. Set the appointment, close the deal. So you convert, but you can't convert someone that doesn't know they need what you have to offer.
Nice. That sort of leads into my next question, which touches on what Bradley was saying. What is the difference? So we know like there's a road to the sale when you sell.
Mm-hmm.
What is,
I think
what is
growth
the difference? What is the difference between the online and then the in person?
Absolutely. So the difference between, and are you talking about closing online, right? Or just networking online, but the actual closing?
Well, I'm talking about sales, like the sale process, because for example,
Mhm.
there's the meet, like the initial one is you meet
care
the
about
person, you greet
then
that person,
your family, the money.
right? So you greet that
Yeah.
person, then you have appointment set, you have qualification, etc., etc. So what is the difference in that process?
Yes. So
Yeah. So
when you're
when you're
networking
networking,
and you're trying to close a deal, one of the biggest things that you're going to notice is people are ready to spend money faster in person. They're ready to spend money faster in person because they believe that if you are in that room with them, that you paid a ticket to get there. So what that removes is it removes some hesitation. Now they're still going to want to do business. They're still going to want to know who you are, but they're not going to investigate your website, so to speak. They're not going to interrogate you about who you've served and where you've been and what you've done. And here's the reason why. When you market online and when you try to sell online, you're just another salesperson online. How many people have a DM full of messages? LinkedIn, Facebook. Hey, my name is da 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 from the Philippines. Hey, I'm John and I can help you do this. Or people even sending stuff to your website. Hey, this is my website and da 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 da. Your website needs help and I can fix it. Like that is what they're constantly being bombarded with on Zoom, like online. So when you get in a room, nobody's really selling them. They're networking. Now, obviously, a lot of people are in there with the intent to sell, but if you get in the right room, you don't want to be in a room where you're the ideal client. Please pay attention to what I'm saying. If you're going into a room to sell, to close deals, you don't want to be in a room where you're the ideal client. You want to be in the room where you are the ideal solution. So in one of the rooms that we were in, I wasn't the ideal client. I was the ideal solution. People needed more leads. They needed better brands. They needed more cash flow. They needed liquidity. I was in rooms with HVAC specialists. I was in rooms with roofers. I was in rooms with dental offices. They don't have anything to sell me. Like a dental office isn't selling me anything on my teeth. Not at that event. They're not. A roofer is not putting a roof on my roof in that event. So what's the biggest difference? The biggest difference is if you do it right and you go to networking events strategically, you want to go to events where you are the ideal solution. And if you're the ideal solution, everybody you talk to is a prospect. So the biggest difference is, one, you're in a room where nobody's selling them, because if they came to network, they came to talk to people in their industry. If you're in there and you're saying, I am not in roofing, I'm actually in branding and positioning and financial services. I notice you got a roof. Let's talk about what you do. I've worked with companies like these in the past. And when you do that, it's pretty much there. You're in the blue sea. You're in the blue sea. You're off the Zoom and you're in the room, and you intentionally pick to be in a room that no one can sell you anything. Now, I'm not saying no one. Obviously, other people are going to go with the same intentions you have, but the idea should be 80-20. There should be 80% of people in that room that are ideal prospects that can't sell you anything and don't want to sell you anything. And the other 20, okay, you're not going to get them all.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, we're going to go to our last break. And then when we come back, we're going to go into the final segment. So Dr. Michelle says that's great being in a room where I am the ideal solution, not the ideal client. Okay, guys, stay tuned. We'll be right back after this short break.
I said Shaan Ride East. I'm proud. I said Shaan Ride East. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Shaan, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and you know, game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes. Confidence is key. Most of the people I work with, they have the education, the experience, and the expertise. We call those the 3 E's. But they're looking for the 3 I's, the income, the impact, and the independence. And I always tell them that the bridge between the 3 E's and the 3 I's is marrying your confidence to your competence. Most of the people I work with, again, have all of the competence in the world. What I help them do is get the confidence.
All right, guys, welcome back. So just let's get a couple comments in. If you've enjoyed today's show, just put some flames in the chat. If you've learned something, put some flames as well. If you have questions, also put something as well. All right. So Bobby, what I love that you really said is you said that you don't want to be in the room where you are the ideal client. You want to be in a room where you are the ideal solution or you have the ideal solution. So I'm a copywriter, or one of the things I do is copywriting. So that basically means message to market match. So my question to you is, when speaking with people, is there a certain hook or is there a certain message that you use? Or have you developed a hook or message as yet that is magnetic to this particular audience when you walk into the room? Or have you noticed anything that make people say, yeah, I've been looking for you?
100%. 1000%. So I'm not necessarily a high I, but my I is very high. Okay. I'm a DC, but I have a pretty high I. And I share that with you guys because high I's are interpersonal. Like we are good people, good with people. So when I entered the room, I could already feel the energy. I could already sense like the tension and I could sense the excitement. And as I was listening to the marketing message, because these events, guys, do not be fooled. If you're brought out to a paid event, they're trying to sell you something else. 1000%. If you are brought out to a paid event, there is no purpose for them charging you for that event other than to sell you something else and to have you have flown all the way out this way, spent all this money already, and you might as well get more money. So that's the intent. So what I did was I pretty much said, what are they trying to sell, these people? They were trying to sell, and I'm not going to give the actual name of the program, but I'll give like a price range. They were trying to sell a program for about $50K. I said, okay, great. Now, why were they trying to sell this program? They were trying to sell this program to give the audience a more valuable company. So I'm in the room with millionaires. Many of them, none of them had businesses really less than $1 million in annual revenue. These were all multi-million-dollar businesses. So I'm in the room and I'm listening to it, and I have a finance background. So I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, great. And these guys like are in their business and in their industry, but have no idea what's really being marketed to them. They just know that they need more money. So once I heard that and I noticed that, and the insight that I want you guys to take away from this is, if you're networking and you go to a paid networking event, pay attention to what's being marketed, because what's being marketed is what they are lowering the guard to, because they are closers too. Understand that they have a job to do too. And when you're going to network and you're going to close deals at a networking event, don't go into the networking event trying to sell something that the person didn't come to buy. They already came to buy something. You just make So Junior has used this example in the past. He's like, you have the present state and you have the future state, and then you got the bridge. The product is like the car. If they're selling the car, all you need to do to make money at a networking event is sell some rims. Rims are the things that go on the wheels, or sell the tint to the window. They're going to buy the car from the dealership. Okay, good. You need a car. But don't you want nice rims too? Don't you want
Mhm.
air freshener too? So you're pretty much listening to the marketing message. And then once you understand the marketing message, you find out how your product or services fits into the message that they're already marketing. So in our case, they were talking about make your business go from um, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million to 10 million. That was the message. So I said, okay, great. Add a zero. That's us. That's what we do. Add a zero. So I'm not telling them not to buy this. I'm not telling them that they don't need it. I'm like, hey, Sean, are we gonna get that too? He's like, hey, we might, So it's like, okay, if that's what everybody's coming for, how do we fit into that? How can we help them get a return on their investment? Please listen to what I'm saying. I didn't go in there trying to take money out of anyone's pocket. I went in there trying to help everybody get money faster. So if we know branding, positioning, marketing, sales, clothes, and we know all of this, and I have the finance background, and I know what their marketing is saying, we're going to do all of this stuff for you, and it's going to take you to this new point. I know that as they scale, they're going to need better branding, better positioning, better leadership, better financial management. So I just came in and said, hey, you thinking about getting this program? It sounds phenomenal. They're like, yeah, I really want that. And I'm like, man, it would be a shame to not have the brand that you're looking for once you get to that 6 and 7 million marker, because you can't go back now. And the leadership team that you have now, you definitely want them to be able to support this new hyper growth that you're anticipating. Would you agree? Yeah, I would need that hyper growth. And my coach once told me the best time to get good with money is before you have a lot of it. Do you believe this program's going to work? He's like, yeah, I think it is. I said, I think it is too. We should definitely sit down and talk about what branding and positioning looks like before you guys hit that multi-million-dollar marker and can't go back. How's that sound? Yeah, man, I'd appreciate that. And I sat down and I booked a call. They want it. I want them to have it, but they need something else on the way. That's what it looked like.
That's really good, Bobby. That's really, really good. Guys, I hope you're taking notes because this is gold. What Bobby just gave you is we shouldn't even give that for free. But one of my coaches used to say, the way you know you have a good offer is when you feel like the prospect is basically stealing from you. That's how you know the offer is good. Like if you feel like you're giving somebody something, like you're presenting an offer and you feel like they're stealing from you, that's how you know the offer is good. Like you're giving so much value that, like, what are you doing? Like you're asking yourself, like, should I raise the price for this? Should I charge for this? What am I doing? That's how you know the offer is good. So guys, if you're benefiting from this information, let me just tell you, this is really good. This is really, really good information. You should really take this down if you're not already doing that. And just figure out how can you sort of integrate that with what you're already doing. Okay, so Bobby, we're about to touch on the top of the hour, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it flew
Let's
by.
do like yeah, let's do like a top five. So top five tips for networking in person. What would you say in any particular order?
Yeah. Sharp as a tack, dressed to impress, match your attire to your desire. Number one. Sharp as a tack, dressed to impress, match your attire to your desire. Because there's no way on God's green earth that you're going to go into a room dressed like $5 and walk away with a $50,000 program or like a $50,000 sale. You need to look like $50,000. I went in there dressed to the T, and that made it very easy for me to engage, because here's the funny thing, and I'll be quick. I know we only got 5 minutes, but very few millionaires dress like the media portrays them to. So what am I saying? I'm saying most millionaires and multimillionaires that I was around, they dressed well, but they didn't dress to impress. And that was good for me because I was dressed to impress. And that let them know that I'm still grinding. I'm in this room, yeah, but I'm not in this room in jeans and a t-shirt. I got money. We got money. Like we got out here. So you know where we are, like financially. But the fact that I'm positioned this way and you're positioned that way lets them know that I'm moving in a direction or at a speed that you're moving at. And if you want to get back up to speed or you want that joke, talk to me. So I say that to say this: you may be in a room where there's nothing different between you guys financially, nothing different between you intellectually. But if you can create that power differential or the distance through the appearance, then do it because it helps. So that's one. Look the part. Number two, energy. Energy. So don't eat crap. Like if you're networking and you're on like a 3-day networking binge, like I was, like the best thing you can do for yourself is eat light and drink water because you don't want to burn out. You don't want to fizzle out because if you fizzle out and you start losing energy, then the people are going to feel it and you got to see them again the next day. And you don't want to be an imposter. You don't want to be and then the next day, whew, like keep your energy because that's going to be an indicator of if they can trust you or not. Was he the same person he was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? If you're not, then they're not going to trust you. But if they see you 3 days in a row, same energy, they got every reason to book the call or keep the call. That's number two. Number three, I would say is talk to the people with the most money first. Because those are the ones you're usually going to be scared of or the ones that you're going to create this thing in your head about. So at this event that I was at, we could tell how much people had spent based on the color of their lanyards. I said, great, you just made my job easy. People had spent $1 million in that room, literally on services. Some people had spent 500,000 on stuff. I went and talked to the people that spent like 500,000 and $1 million first. Introduced myself to them first. Why? Because it's like going to the club again. Introduce yourself to the most attractive person in your league. And then if they tell you yes or they tell you hi, everybody else is easy. And that's what I did. I went in there. I found the person that was dressed the nicest. And I was like, hey, my name is Bobby Jackson. How you doing? How do you feel about the event? They said, I'm feeling absolutely phenomenal. I just exited my company for $7 million. Here's my phone number. Let's take a picture. I was like, it's game over. Nobody else is safe. and they weren't. Number four, I would say, is punctuality. The event started at 9. I was there every day at 7:45. The event ended 7:45 a.m. So I was there an hour, 15 minutes early, like almost 2 hours early. And then the event ended at 5 p.m. I did not go to my room one night except for the Sunday. Not even Sunday. I didn't go to my room one night of the event to lay down until after 9 p.m. So I was working 4 hours after the event, 2 hours before the event, and all throughout the event. Punctuality. And the last thing I would say, man, top of the hour already. Last thing I would say is pay attention. Pay attention to the other salesmen because I wasn't the only salesman there. So what you want to do is it's like if you ever been driving, it's like drift. Like if you get behind a car that's driving, then they take all the wind and then you kind of get to the benefit of lowered resistance. So pretty much what I'm saying with that is pay attention because people are going to get rejected. Find out why and don't do that. People are going to get along their pitch, whatever. Pay attention, listen, sit close, watch. Oh, let them sell you. Go to the event and listen to the salespeople sell you and take notes. So my last one would be pay attention to the details of the sales.
Very nice. Guys, I hope you took all of this down. If not, you're going to have to catch the replay. Bobby, thank you so much. Guys, we'll see you tomorrow on Breakfast with the Brand, same place, same time. Let's grow.